Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. I know a lot of us are still really giddy today over the Supreme Court decision yesterday regarding the Second Amendment, where a lot of people were really happy, like me, and a lot of people were really sad, like David Hogg, Bloomberg, etc. Today, though, there was another decision that made a lot of people happy and a lot of people sad. This was the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, I'm not here today to wade into what I feel about abortion or what other people feel about abortion or whatever. I don't really care what you feel about abortion. I still think you're welcome in the gun community, whether you're pro-choice, pro-life, whatever. But there's a lot of false equivalencies being drawn right now relating this decision to the Second Amendment decision yesterday. And that's why I want to do this video today. I just got off a huge fight on Instagram, of all places, where you think you'd be safe from that type of thing. It's just a place to go look at pretty pictures. But I just had a huge conversation with someone about these two decisions and how they compare to each other. And this person was making all kinds of false equivalencies and giving all kinds of flawed analogies. And I want to cover those today. Like I said, don't want to talk about abortion itself. That's between you and whatever, your congressman, I guess. But I do want to talk about how these people that are getting upset about Roe v. Wade and are trying to use that to damage yesterday's decision or to disparage yesterday's decision are absolutely wrong. Like I said, a lot of false equivalencies, a lot of bad analogies here. Someone was saying if the states can regulate abortion, well, then they can also regulate marriage and they can regulate guns. Well, you're missing a point here. Today's decision didn't in any way say abortion is illegal. It just said that there's no federally granted constitutional right to abortion, and therefore states can limit it. They've always been able to limit it, but now they can limit it a lot more. So that's what the decision says. If your state allows abortion, it can still allow abortion. It doesn't have to if it doesn't want to, but it can. Now, this is where people are drawing the equivalency. Well, if that's the way it is, then why can't states just regulate guns? And if you want a gun, you got to go to a state that has them. Well, I would have to move to do that. If I lived in a state that prohibited guns, and I wanted to exercise my right that I'm granted by the Constitution, which that's the biggest difference between these two things. The Constitution actually says I have gun rights. It doesn't say you have abortion rights. So let's keep that in mind first. But still, let's address your false analogies here. They're saying if you live in a state that has restricted gun rights, go to another state. Well, I'd have to move to enjoy that. If you got pregnant and for some reason didn't notice it like in the first 3 months, which I always find it funny that a woman's going to not notice she didn't have her menstrual cycle for 3 months. So they're bitching about, 20 weeks is too soon to ban an abortion, or 16 weeks or whatever, 15. When one of the states enacted a 15-month ruling, that was like, oh my God. I'm like, that's almost 4 months. If you can't notice you're pregnant in 4 months, how responsible are you? But getting back to the topic here. But if you were in one of these states that did not allow you to have an abortion, you didn't notice in the first 3 or 4 months that you were pregnant, and you wanted to get an abortion, you still can. You can drive to another state, have an abortion, come back. I can't drive to another state, buy a gun, and bring it back. I'd be a criminal. Now, some people are saying, well, they're going to try to make you criminals if you go to another state and get an abortion. Now, that I wouldn't agree with at all. You shouldn't be held accountable. If you go to a state and do something that's legal there, you should not be able to face criminal liability in your state. And I'll get to that here in a second, why that should be the case. Like if you go to California and go to a nude beach, and then you go back home to Alabama and they're like, oh, you were publicly nude. That's lewd behavior. We're going to arrest you for what you did in California. That doesn't hold water, constitutionally, legally, whatever. So if you lived in a state and you wanted an abortion, you go to another state, get one, you come back, you still had an abortion. They're not going to shove the baby back in you. If I go to another state, buy a gun, bring it back, not only they're going to take the gun away from me, they're going to put me in prison. Because that's about owning property. And if my state says I can't own it, that's a violation of my rights because I can't just go somewhere else and get it and then still enjoy my life where I live, where I choose to live. That is a very big difference there. I would have to move to another state. If you had to move to another state to get an abortion, I think that would be an undue penalty on you. And we're just assuming that abortion is something that should be allowed. Not that it's, good or bad. We're just kind of leaving that on the wayside. So that's just really a false analogy. Also, when they say, next they're going after gay marriage and what else? Something else. I can't remember what it was. And I'm like, well, that is a different case also. And hell, if you weren't here striking down, trying to yell about gun rights, I'd support you in the other things. But since you're trying to support gay marriage by tearing down gun rights, maybe you should limit to one topic, because I would support you in other topics, and I would support them in this topic. But like I said, you're muddying the waters attacking guns. You don't need to attack guns to defend abortion if you want to defend it, or to defend gay marriage if you want to defend it. But like I said, there are also differences between abortion and gay marriage. If you get married in one state and you move to another state, there are laws that say states have to recognize that. In fact, in the Constitution, it says, full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. That means if you have a proceeding, which getting married is a legal proceeding, it's a judicial act. If it happens in one state, every other state has to recognize it. They can't say, it's no good when you get here. That would protect something like gay marriage. An abortion is not a legal contract. An abortion is not a judicial proceeding. An abortion is not a legal proceeding. It's just a physical act. It's like, I don't want to say anything really nasty, but let's say you had sex with someone underage and you go somewhere where it's legal, like to Mexico, and you come back. That's kind of gross, and that's not something that's protected. That I don't mind if states say, hey, you go to Mexico and abuse children, you come back, we're arresting you. Because that's not a legal act in another state. It's not a contract formed in another state. I'm getting really off topic here, but you kind of understand what I'm saying. Marriage, things like that, are legal contracts in states. So if the federal law doesn't deny it, in fact, if federal law supports it, marriage, and states offer it, for one, under the Constitution, the Fair Treatment Clause should be applied to everyone. Everyone should have the same legal right. Also, if one state does allow it, another state shouldn't be able to deny it, just like the driver's license. You can't get a driver's license in California, drive across Nevada, and Nevada police decide, hey, we're going to arrest everybody who drives across with a California driver's license, and we've passed a law in our state that it's a $1,000 fine that you can pay right on the spot and leave. Debit card, pay it, go. That would be illegal because you're not recognizing that person is licensed in another state. So there's all kinds of ways to defend things like driver's license, gay marriage, etc., that you don't have to say, the Constitution demands you have that right. No, there are other rights and privileges granted to you by law in this country that are not directly enumerated in the Constitution. Here's another little thing about abortion. There's no federal law that says the states have to allow you to have an abortion. In fact, the only federal laws I'm aware of basically limit what funds can go to abortion, no federal money. What a trimester you can have an abortion in limits it to the first trimester. Those are the only laws I know. There's no federal law that says you have a right to an abortion. If there was a federal law that said you had a right to an abortion, this would be a different argument in front of the Supreme Court. But that's not what the argument is right now. Does the Constitution grant you a right to an abortion? No, it doesn't. Not directly. So I don't understand how people are making these equivalencies with gun rights. The Constitution very clearly says you have gun rights. It's nothing that the federal government even has to make a law on because they're not allowed to. The Constitution overrides federal government overrides the states when it comes to laws. So if the federal government doesn't have a law saying you can have an abortion, well, then it's up to the states, and states can decide. And if you, like I said, if you want an abortion, go to another state. Maybe they'll even pay for you to come and pay for it. If they feel so strongly that people should be getting abortions, that's on them. But don't make equivalencies and don't muddy your own arguments. If you want to come to me And I tell this to gun people all the time. Don't talk about abortion when you're talking about gun rights. Don't talk about gay rights when you're talking about gun rights. Same thing to the people out there right now that are trying to demonize gun rights to support their opinions on other things. Well, how is it the Supreme Court says everybody can have a gun, but I can't have an abortion? Well, they didn't say that. They said the Constitution does guarantee everyone the right to keep and bear arms. It does not give you a constitutional right to an abortion. That would have to be dealt with judicially. The federal government could pass a law saying, yes, that is a right every American citizen has. And then that'd be a different battle. But even if the federal government passed a law saying you can't have guns, well, that would still be it's the same battle because the Constitution overrides the federal government. So that's set in stone. And as long as that's there, this is not the same argument. And if you want to argue for pro-gay rights, pro-trans rights, pro-choice, I guess, I'm not going to say pro-abortion because I can't imagine anyone's actually pro-abortion. But I would hope no one would ever have to have an abortion. Prevention. That's the key. Prevention. And it's not abstinence, it's prevention. Abstinence is stupid. It's good sometimes. I like it at my age, but pretending that young people aren't going to do anything, that's stupid. So like I was saying, if you're going to defend choice, if you're going to defend gay rights, if you're going to defend anything, don't come at me about gun rights and try to use that as an argument. You're just muddying your waters. You're not going to get my support. If you just came at me on, hey, gay marriage should be for everybody, I'll support you. If you come at me and say, trans rights are important, I'll support you. Everyone should have equal rights. But if you try to demonize guns, you're just losing my attention and losing my support because it makes me less likely to want to stand by you in an argument. Because if I defend you on this and then you go off on guns, well, then I have to be like, yeah, maybe they're not credible. So stick to topic. Don't demonize the Second Amendment. Don't demonize guns in your arguments. There is a big difference between abortion and gun rights. Like I said, spelled out in the Constitution. And if people care so much about abortion rights, well then have a federal law passed. Have your state law changed. Do whatever you got to do. You still have that right. The Supreme Court did not say you can't. Two totally different rulings, so keep that in mind, like I said, and quit demonizing gun rights to try to defend your other positions because you just lose support. All right, everybody, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the show, although I know some of you aren't going to whenever I talk about anything controversial. A lot of people get mad. And here's the thing, if you're not a type of person that can understand that people will disagree with you on some things and agree with you on other, but you have to say, well, I disagree with you on 10% of the things, so I gotta leave, and I gotta yell when I leave. Don't yell when you leave, just leave. You're probably in the wrong place. I don't really want people here that can't at least consider other opinions. So just leave quietly and keep your dignity. Otherwise, people are just going to think you're a whiny baby. So that's just a little advice from me to you. So if you don't like what I said and you don't want to come back, you're welcome to go. No hard feelings. But if you whine and slam the door, that looks bad on you, not me. But with that being said, I want to thank everyone for coming. And I hope you come back again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.